Hey, I'm Bee, and welcome back to Read in Rome. Yesterday, I went to the zoo with my friend Caroline. It was so much fun, and we took lots of photos. I'll show you. Okay, here we are leaving the zoo. That photo's supposed to be last. Let's try another one. Ah, the giraffes! My favorite animal. We even saw the zookeepers feeding them. I'll show you in the next photo. Wait, now we're at the cafe about to have lunch. That happened later. There must be a glitch on my computer that saved the photos out of order, which makes it hard to explain what happened. You know what? That's actually a great topic for today's lesson. Let's practice how to retell stories clearly from beginning to end. So today, we'll learn how to retell stories the right way, not like how I retold my zoo trip. An important part of retelling stories is understanding the plot. The plot is what happens in order, with each event connecting to the next to help the story make sense. To retell a story, we explain the plot. We say what happened from beginning to end using our own words, like we're telling a friend what the story's about. But we don't just list events, we include key story elements like the characters, setting, conflict, and resolution. Knowing how to retell stories is a useful skill because it helps us remember and understand stories better and explain them clearly to other people. To practice, we'll read a fairy tale called The Emperor's New Clothes, and afterward, we'll retell it. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who cared greatly about his appearance. He loved spending money on expensive clothes and was always looking to buy more. One day, two tricksters came to the palace, saying they could weave special fabric that only intelligent people could see. The emperor was too greedy to notice their lies and hired them to make clothes. They requested gold thread and the finest silk, which they smuggled into their bags to sell later. For days, they pretended to weave the fabric. When the emperor and his advisors checked on them, they couldn't see any fabric, but were too afraid to admit it. "The clothes are beautiful," they said. After several days, the thieves announced the clothes were finished. The next day, the emperor showed off his new clothes in a parade. As he marched through the streets, the public praised his outfit because they were too scared to tell the truth. Suddenly, a boy shouted, "But he's not wearing anything!" The crowd gasped, then one by one began laughing. The emperor blushed but continued walking, too proud to admit his mistake. Meanwhile, the tricksters had vanished with the thread and silk, leaving the emperor with nothing but his pride. I love this fairy tale. Now, let's retell it using a plot map, which is a tool that helps us organize the most important parts of a story. We retell the beginning, middle, and end, and any other key details along the way, like the characters, conflict, and resolution. The plot map kind of looks like a mountain. That's because stories are usually calm at the beginning, like we're at the bottom before we start climbing. Then the events build up like we're climbing higher and higher until we often reach the conflict. Finally, everything settles down at the end once we've climbed back down. We'll also use sequence words in our plot map to help tell the order of events, like first, next, then, and last. Okay, let's start with the beginning. When we're telling someone about the beginning, it's useful to start with who the main character is, what they want, and why they want it. In this case, we should mention the emperor, starting with the word first. First, there was an emperor who cared a lot about what he looked like and loved fancy clothes. Now we should also explain what he wanted. He always wanted to buy more. Perfect. So, we know he wants clothes, but how does he get them? Let's talk about what happened next. We should mention the new characters, the tricksters, and how they fit into the plot. We could say, next, two tricksters came along and said they could make the emperor clothes. That's good, but we're missing an important detail. What kind of clothes did the tricksters say they could make? All right, next, two tricksters came along and lied about being able to make magical fabric that only smart people could see. What else happened? Think about the emperor's reaction. I'll add, the emperor hired them. I've used my own words and included all the key events and details, like the emperor and tricksters and what they do. Now we can move on to the middle. I'll start with then. I've got two ideas, and I want you to decide which one retells what happens the best. Then the tricksters asked for gold thread and fine silk, which they hid to sell later. They pretended to weave for many days. When the emperor and his helpers came to check, they were too scared to say they couldn't see any fabric. After a few days, the clothes were ready. Or, then the tricksters got some gold thread and fine silk and pretended to weave for many days. The emperor and his helpers checked the clothes and said they were beautiful. After a few days, the clothes were ready. Which one do you think is better for the middle of the plot map? Pay attention to the different details they share. Pause the video to decide. The first version is better. It tells us that the tricksters hid the thread and silk to sell later, helping us understand why they wanted to trick the emperor. It also includes the conflict by explaining that the emperor and his helpers didn't speak up about not seeing the fabric. The second version doesn't say that the tricksters stole the items or that everyone pretended to see the clothes. When we retell a story, we include all the events and, most importantly, the conflict. Now, it's your turn. Reread the last part of the story if you need to, then retell it in 3 to 4 sentences, starting with the sequence word last. Make sure you use your own words and include all the important details, like any new characters and how the conflict was solved. Pause the video here. Let's check. You might have written something like, last, a child shouted that the emperor wasn't wearing anything at all. Everyone started laughing at the emperor, but he was too proud to admit he'd been tricked. The tricksters ran away with the gold and silk. Don't worry if yours is a little different. It's correct if you included the key events in the right order, like the child who told the truth, the crowd's reaction, the emperor's feelings, and how the tricksters ran away. And remember, when you finish writing, you can always go back and add details. It's important to check your work to see if it makes sense. Great work! Today we learned about plot and how to retell stories, helping us understand what we've read and share those stories with others. Next time you tell a friend about something that happened, like how I wanted to share my fun day at the zoo, try using the skills we learned to retell your story. And remember, where there are words, there's a world to explore. See you next time. Hey, hey.